As smartphones have become the dominant picture-taking tool for the modern consumer, the idea of lugging bulky DSLRs with interchangeable lenses just isn't very appealing anymore. But smartphones carry limitations in both image quality and in features like the ability to zoom in. That's where the new Sony RX10 IV comes in. It's the latest and greatest version of Sony's 1-inch sensor bridge camera that puts a high-powered zoom and professional controls in a mostly portable package. At $1,700, the RX10 IV isn't exactly cheap, and like its predecessors, it's still pretty bulky. But hidden away in here is a 24 to 600mm equivalent zoom lens. You won't get anywhere near that amount of zoom range in a DSLR, and certainly not for that price. The lens and the 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor behind it are actually the same as in the previous RX10 III, so image quality is predictably good, if nothing new. There's plenty of detail, great dynamic range, and noise performance is pretty good up to ISO 2500 or so. Beyond that is where you'll definitely notice the difference between this and a larger sensor camera like a DSLR, but either way, this will blow away your smartphone every time. The real improvements to the RX10 IV are all about performance. Where the Mark III had just 25 autofocus points, the Mark IV now has 315, and it uses phase detection for very impressive focusing speed. In particular, we found that eye-tracking autofocus worked really well, and this will ensure that your portraits remain tack sharp with the focus exactly where you want it to be. Continuous shooting speed has also been significantly improved, with the RX10 IV achieving up to 24 frames per second with the electronic shutter compared to 14 on the Mark III. So yeah, you can basically shoot video at 20 megapixel resolution, albeit only for a few seconds. The rear LCD monitor is the same size and still tilts up and down, but we do like to see that resolution has been bumped up to 1.44 million dots. This being a Sony, 4K video also comes standard, and lower resolution slow motion can be shot at up to 960 frames per second, which sounds impressive, but there's a pretty big quality hit with resolution dropping to just 800 by 270 at that frame rate. This is the same as on the RX10 III. So there is one downgrade to the RX10 IV, and that's battery life, which is now rated at just 400 shots per charge compared to 420 on the RX10 III. So that's definitely not terrible, but if you're going to take this camera on a long vacation or on a camping trip where you won't have access to power, you're definitely going to want to bring a couple extra batteries with you. So is the RX10 IV a worthy successor to the Mark III? Well, if you already own the Mark III, the upgrades in the Mark IV are probably not worth $1,700. For us, the biggest improvement was definitely the autofocus performance. The burst rate is certainly impressive, but most people just aren't going to need that kind of speed. However, if you are looking for your first bridge camera or want something that complements your DSLR and offers greater portability, then the RX10 IV is very hard to beat. If you can afford it, it's the way to go. It may be the most expensive in its class, but it's also the top performer by a fair margin. For more on the RX10 IV, make sure you head to digitaltrends.com to read the full review by David Elrich.